We drove up the winding mountain road just before sunset, the tires crunching over old gravel. The pines loomed like silent sentinels on either side. I hadn't been to Whisper Hollow since I was a child. Now I was returning alone. The forest hadn't changed. Still dense, still dark, still listening. I inherited the cabin after my aunt died. No will, just a letter. Her handwriting shaky and erratic. Don't stay past dusk. Don't follow the sounds. If you hear your name, don't answer. And never, ever enter the clearing. I thought it was a joke, a product of her slow descent into dementia. But by the second night, I wasn't so sure. The cabin was exactly as I remembered, crooked, musty, yet oddly comforting. The first night was uneventful. I unpacked, lit a fire, and sat on the porch as the wind rustled the trees. That's when I heard it, my name. Soft, drifting through the woods. Mara. I froze. It came again, farther off this time. Mara. I told myself it was the wind. I locked the doors and went to bed. But I didn't sleep. By the third day, things were wrong. Birdsong vanished. The woods were too still. And I began finding symbols etched into the bark. Circles, slashes, crude stick figures. Some fresh, some old and scarred deep. I took a picture of one and texted my friend Ava. Witchy much? She replied. Probably some hiker playing Blair Witch. Chill. But I wasn't chilled. Not when I stepped outside that evening and saw my footprints in the dirt, leading into the woods. I hadn't been out all day. That night, the whispering came back. Not just my name now, but words. She knows. She sees you. She waits. They came from different directions, weaving between trees, circling the cabin. I shut all the windows. But when I passed the mirror in the hall, I caught something, just behind me. A figure, watching. But when I turned, nothing was there. I found the clearing on the 5th day. Not on purpose. I was trying to leave. I packed my things, got in the car, but the road kept turning in on itself. I drove 20 minutes in one direction, only to arrive back at the cabin. The forest had folded around me, so I ran. Through the trees, through thorn and branch, until I broke into it. The clearing. Perfectly round. Too perfect. In its center was a ring of stones, charred at the edges. And in the middle, a tree. Black. Split down the middle, like it had been struck by lightning. At its base, a mirror. Old, cracked. Just standing there, reflecting the sky. When I looked into it, I saw myself. But I wasn't alone. That night, I dreamed of her. The woman in the mirror, pale, with eyes too dark, too deep. She wore my face like a mask. But it was off. Too smooth, too still. She whispered, "You came back. Now you'll stay." I woke up on the cabin floor, dirt under my nails. My feet were muddy. The door was open. I'd gone back to the clearing in my sleep. The final night, I set up my phone to record. I wanted proof of the whispers, of the figure I kept seeing just past the trees. The footage showed me sleeping. Then, at 3:12 a.m., I sat up, walked to the mirror in the hall, stared at it, and in the reflection, I smiled. But I hadn't moved. I tried to smash the mirror. It wouldn't break. I screamed, cried, ran through the woods with a flashlight until I collapsed. The trees closed in. The shadows whispered. Something brushed my shoulder, and I heard her voice. We trade places, you and I. You walk free. I watch. But now, I'm done watching. I woke up back in the clearing. The sun rising. The mirror gone. But in the cabin window, I saw her, watching me from inside. And now I'm still here, somewhere beyond the trees. The road doesn't work. Maps don't help. Phones die after a single call. No one believes me. But if you ever hear someone calling your name from the woods, don't follow. Because if she sees you, she remembers. And she needs a face to wear.
My name is Daniel, and my wife stopped blinking 3 weeks ago. At first, I thought I was imagining it. We were in the cafeteria at Langley Biotech, the sprawling private research facility where we both work, eating lunch like we always did. She was talking about some issue in the data logs, something about gene sequence drift. I was only half listening. That's when I noticed it. She hadn't blinked once, not in the last 10 minutes. We met 5 years ago, when she was recruited straight out of Stanford. Elena always seemed too brilliant for her surroundings. Clinical, efficient, beautiful, but not in a loud way. More like something precisely sculpted, a little too perfect. She worked in subsection 9B. I was in systems ops. We weren't supposed to interact, but life finds its ways. Marriage followed a year later. No ceremony, no guests. Just the two of us in a government office. Cold light, warm hands. Langley was a self-contained world. Labs, housing, stores, even a movie theater. We weren't allowed to talk about what went on in most departments. All emails were monitored. Phones were stripped of cameras. No one ever used the word military, but the subtext hung in the air like static. When I asked Elena about the blinking, she smiled and said, "Don't be silly, Dan. Of course I blink." But she didn't. Not once during the conversation. That night I lay awake watching her. Her breathing was normal. She shifted once in her sleep. Eyes closed, then open, and still open. She stared straight at the ceiling, unmoving, for hours. On Friday, my clearance badge beeped red at the turnstile. "Temporary suspension," the guard said, checking a clipboard. "Routine review." I wasn't stupid. Routine reviews happened when someone flagged you. Maybe Elena said something. Maybe I had. They put me on administrative leave and told me to stay in our assigned residence within Langley grounds. I wasn't to leave the perimeter. But Elena never came home that night, or the next. Her badge still registered inside the central lab cluster, Zone Theta, 3 levels below ground. I asked around. No one remembered seeing her, or they said they didn't. The third night, I broke in. I still had physical access to most of the auxiliary tunnels, maintenance shafts, ventilation corridors, old escape routes no one used anymore. I memorized the paths back when I was a technician, before I moved to systems. At 2:37 a.m., I crawled through an old cable channel behind the east reactor wall. The access panel into Zone Theta was supposed to be sealed, but it wasn't. The hallway beyond was sterile, too clean, like it had never been used, and silent. When I heard the humming, not from a machine, from a voice, low, rhythmic, almost like someone whispering a lullaby underwater. It came from Lab Z-3. I used Elena's old biometric key, yes, I stole it, and entered. The room was empty. No lights. Just the glow of a single monitor and the humming. Louder now. I moved toward the screen. There was a video file playing on loop. Experiment 303A, Neural Region Composite. The camera showed a person strapped to a gurney. My wife, eyes wide open, smiling, and not blinking. Something moved in the corner. I turned. She stepped out from the shadows, wearing her lab coat, barefoot, her hair wet like she'd just emerged from water. "Dan," she said calmly, "you're not supposed to be here." Her voice was right, but the rhythm was wrong, like an actor reading a script without understanding the words. "Elena." She tilted her head. "That name has been retired." My legs refused to move. "What did they do to you?" Her smile widened, but her eyes didn't move, still locked on mine, unblinking. "Not to me, Daniel. For me. I ran. Didn't look back. I don't remember how I made it out. Security never came. No lockdown, no alarms. And when I got back to our apartment, she was there, cooking breakfast like nothing happened. "Where did you go last night?" she asked, smiling sweetly. "You were in the lab," I said. A pause. "No," she replied, still smiling. "I've been here the whole time." I tried to leave Langley the next day. My car wouldn't start. My exit pass had been revoked. A man in a gray suit met me at the outer gate and told me I was under protective observation. "You're not in trouble," he said, "but your wife is undergoing treatment. Sudden stress could trigger instability." I asked what treatment. He smiled and said nothing. "I've seen her do it now. Change. It happens in the mirror when she thinks I'm not watching. She tilts her head in that same mechanical way. Her pupils dilate and contract without light changes. Her fingers twitch, like something is pulling the strings from inside. She's trying to be Elena, trying to mimic her memories, her voice, her warmth. But it's not her. Not anymore. Last night I found the journal, her real one, hidden in a hollow panel behind the air vent. It was full of pages, coded at first, but then frantic, desperate handwriting. Words like, I can hear them. The blood isn't mine. They said I'd be better. I'm not me anymore. The last page was dated 3 weeks ago. It just said, if he sees me blink, it's still me. If I don't, run. So now I sit here, writing this, watching her in the other room. She's humming, chopping vegetables with precise, identical movements, smiling, and not blinking. She just turned and said my name. Daniel, are you hungry? And she's still smiling, still not blinking. And I don't know what to do. Because if I run, they'll find me. But if I stay, I think she's waiting for me to fall asleep. And I'm so tired.